I have a question. How many of y'all are the strong or the go-to friend or relative? Today, I got story time for y'all. I'm gonna share maybe one, maybe two, but most likely one specific story of many where I'm the go-to, the strong one, and I get called in. Get locked and loaded, y'all. We're back. Welcome to A Legendary Mess. I am your hostess with the messiest mostest, RayneMartine. And I'm excited to be back. I'm so sorry that I did not get to upload. We've been having work done on my house, and I have not gotten a chance to film in the manner that I wanted to due to the work because it was my roof. That's going to be another story time on how to deal with the ghetto of adulting. But not today. Not today. Today, we are definitely going to hit some interesting stuff. But first and foremost, hello, cousins. How are you guys? I hope you all are well. I've also made a couple of new changes and decisions. Y'all will be getting a new intro probably next week. I don't know yet. But I will say, I've missed you, cousins. First and foremost, like, comment, share, subscribe. Be ready to hear craziness. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You can find my handles as I am RayneMartine on Instagram, A Legendary Mess on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook as RayneM. Not giving y'all my last name. Figure it out. TikTok, RayneMartine. Spotify, YouTube, A Legendary Mess. Hey, y'all. Cousins, I really did miss y'all. I felt a little off not filming. But today, y'all got me in rare form. It's actually, I changed the upload days, so y'all will be getting content Fridays instead of Thursdays because I feel like Fridays are fun. And as of recently, my Thursdays have become extremely busy. So I'm still in here like swimwear, though. I am. Anywho, yeah, I miss you guys. First and foremost, well, second, but really first and foremost, I love you, but God loves you more. We give ourselves grace. This is a safe space. We give ourselves grace, just like God gave us grace, and we give others grace because we don't know their battles, but we also are good people, right? So, yeah, we're going to get into this topic. First and foremost, messy confessions. I'm going to talk about today's messy confessions because this morning was really, really ghetto. It was ghetto. I took longer in the gym because I kept having phone calls. My beautiful, lovely third child, who may probably suffer from middle child syndrome, Angeli, was having one of those. Since she started junior high school, she's always, I don't want to say in something, but she be in stuff. And she's the muscle. And unfortunately, all of my kids except the one who has yet to go through it has struggled with this, and that's what kind of made me want to tell this story. But you know, the messy confessions is this morning I was on and off on the phone in the gym looking crazy with her school, my ex-husband, who is also my very good co-parent. Hey, old head. I don't tell his name because I don't want to, put him out there. Protective reasons and privacy, obviously. And her school, with a situation where she played the muscle and she didn't have to, and she really didn't need to. And there was just a lot of miscommunication, a lot of chaos, and ultimately we did get to a resolve. But boy, oh boy, I was on the phone with my co-parent, and I was like, it's seeming to be almost generational. I mean, I gotta break it because it's only on my end. Like, and it's gotta get broken. Like, this is ridiculous. It's giving Kiara Sheard and Tasha Cobbs Leonard with something has to break. That's what it's giving, y'all. That's what it's giving. But I'm trying to help them, especially her, with identifying what that is, how it shows up, and the boundaries. So it's a little bit complicated. There will be updates, obviously. And as for the last updates about the family mess, there's more mess. I'm sick of it. I know my mom is sick of it. I know the collective of relatives, we're all sick of it. But in better news, my cousin is coming up, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to just have a good time with her and just talk and relax and laugh and get the good wisdom. So yeah, Messy Confessions is I'm trying to teach my children and break the generational cycle / curse / trauma of being the muscle or the go-to for that, which is going to lead into story time. So gather around, children. Come close, because story time is going to be really interesting today. So the question is, how many of y'all are the strong friend or the go-to friend or relative? I know I am. And fun fact, if you guys did not know, I am adopted and I have 2 families, but I don't like acknowledging that there's 2. I just call us all one big melting stir pot of jambalaya craziness, because that's exactly what we are. But most times I'm the go-to. I'm in this space where I've learned to say no, and I've learned to just step back a lot. And I'm really proud of myself because it took a lot of undoing. It took a lot of therapy. It took a lot of tears and a lot of prayer. So with this story, y'all are going to get a couple of laughs. Y'all probably going to look at me and be like, yeah, you're nuts. We're going to take it back to a younger me who has been resurfacing and visiting because she needed a little love this week. Teenage me. The reason I say that is because I was a teenage parent, but I also had to grow really fast. I didn't really experience my teenage years, not because of me being a teenage parent, but because of circumstances. And that sucks, but I'm really grateful because I do have a certain sense of responsibility and sternness and discipline from it. But I do kind of miss the elements where it was carefree before I had to be forced to grow up. And with my kids, I actually make sure they get to have all that, the experience of, screwing up, the fun. I might still have to hit them with you were dead wrong for that, whatever, but I'm really, really, really glad they get to have those experiences, because I sure as heck didn't. And when I did, it was like short-lived, very short-lived, but I guess God designed it that way, and I'm grateful nonetheless. So we're going to take it back to high school, when we're going to mix it up. High school me and child me, right? Child me was often very picked on because I had to grow into my looks. And I know one of my siblings, or a few of my siblings, might see this, and y'all know, I'm going to say it before anybody else could get it. I was an ugly duckling. I was an ugly duckling. I don't shy away from it. I had to grow into my body. I had to grow into my looks. I had to grow into my forehead. I had to grow into these lips. I had to grow, okay? It's not my fault. I was a preemie and my mom was out there wilding. But pretty much, I was bullied a lot. So I didn't believe that I needed to fight. So my oldest sister, Trell, hi. It's been a minute. I still gotta make it to your house. She and my cousin Helena used to fight for me or run up and check the kids. It often left me very awkward. It still didn't stop the fact that I was getting bullied a lot, but they used to try to train me to get it together. My younger sister Jamie, who I absolutely adore, she honestly gave me permission months ago to tell this story. I just was very apprehensive about it, but I'm gonna tell it anyways now, cause that I'm more comfortable. Jamie, my younger sister Jamie, actually was more of a fighter as a child than I was. So when I was being bullied, she would find out. She'd be like, she would call my dad and my mom and be like, "I'm going to her school and we're gonna jack them up." Meanwhile, I'm like, that's not smart. I don't want to be in the middle of stuff. I was one of those kids, very pretentious, very precautious. Like, I just wasn't. I didn't believe that I needed to fight. Fast forward to high school. Went clean out the window. Clean out the window. The only reason I went clean out the window is because my younger sister Jamie and I actually did have a fight. Before my mom's passing, like probably a year or two before she passed, me and her had got into it because and this is how my parents learned, I'm more implosive. Like you have to get me to react before fighting. And you have to touch a specific nerve for me to fight. And one day Jamie was just on one. It's gonna lead into the story, I promise. One day Jamie was just on one, and she decided she was gonna test me. I don't know why she did that, but she tested me, all right, and now she has a scar on her forehead because she tested me too far, and I wasn't having it. I blacked out, and I'm gonna be 1,000% transparent. I beat the bricks off of her to the point that she actually had to get stitches on her forehead. But a lot of people didn't know the story that Jamie actually was the one who started it, and she was picking at me for God knows whatever reason. And when everything kind of like when I finally came to, as in like when I got out of the blackout stage and I was slowly coming back to what was happening in the aftermath, my parents realized like I'm implosive. So you have to keep pushing me and to a point where you strike a nerve enough for me to like have to react. And then when I reacted, I snapped. So they were like, yeah, we gotta watch this one. She's the crash out. I'm retired, but don't worry. I can still crash out. I just pick and choose the battles. Anywho's, so once that was learned as a child, it made me more cautious about how I reacted to things. But high school was a whole different story because unfortunately I had this reputation amongst people where they knew me for fighting, being the muscle, and that sucks. And I hated that. Even now looking back on it, like where I thought I was comfortable, I just had grew into the space of silence. I wasn't really comfortable with it. I hate it. Now I'm very much pick and choose. If it's about my kids, we crashing all the way out, taking a jail sentence. That's why I'm banned from one of these schools now. But if it's like my kids, my siblings, my mom, I'm on crash out. We going to jail, baby. If you notice, I also do not have my hearing aids in because I'm winging it, and I don't really need them in to talk to you guys. Some days I'll have them in, some days I won't. But just letting y'all know, for those who do know that I have the hearing impairment, I don't have my hearing aids in. I don't really need them to film, but the days that you do see me with them on, I'm probably struggling even harder than I would normally. We'll get into that. That's a whole separate topic, but I just need to make sure because I know somebody's going to point it. I'll get a message about somebody pointing out where my hearing aids. They're not in, girl. They're in the case resting, but they'll be back in when I go back out. I don't need it in the house when there's nobody in here. So, anywho, back to the subject and topic. Fast forward to high school. And I don't know how this happened, but because I gotten well known about my status for fighting and being the muscle, because I was one of those who didn't really lose a fight, and I was tactical and also trained to a degree, but in a street fight, I'm taking your head clean off. Like, it is what it is. With that, I had gotten that reputation, and it sucked that that's what followed me for so many years, but in a certain sense, I'm kind of, it's a half and half. I'm grateful, but I'm also very much still like, anywho. With that, one day, I don't know how the roles reversed. Please excuse me as I put this lip therapy treatment stuff on my lips. My lips be dry, y'all. Anywho. I think it's just the weather that's making me do that in my allergies. But, so I had high school. Jamie calls me. Well, when didn't she call me? We were on the phone every day. Anyway, she calls me, and we didn't go to the same high school. Our high schools were actually next to each other. So, we're like maybe a block away from each other. Because where we live is an island, it's small. So, what happened was, Jamie would often in high school get picked on and bullied. I still couldn't tell you why. I don't even know if she knows why. She probably does, and she ain't gonna tell me the full truth until we on our deathbeds. And that's cool, but sis, I'm the same thing. You gonna hear it in the story, and it's gonna haunt you. And I hope it does. Auntie who's she often got picked on in high school, which I thought was odd because she was often the fighter. I was expecting to go through that, but then I guess turn of events. So I get a phone call one day. It's not even funny. From Jamie's phone, but it was my dad, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to do me a favor." I said, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Your sister seems to be getting bullied. She don't think I know. Go over there and find her." So I'm like, I guess I'll go and find her. So all in all, there was a situation happening with Jamie where it wasn't just like it was a group of girls. It was like practically half the school picking on her. And still to this day, I couldn't tell you why. I would love to know why, but part of me also says don't open that can of worms. She's getting picked on, and my dad was like, "I need you to check on her, be there." And I'm a daddy's girl, so I ain't saying no to my dad. I'm just not. So I was like, "All right, bet." I go over, I do a pop in, pull up. So far, nothing. I'm like, okay, cool. We don't got it. I'm good. I get to cheerleading practices. It's the same day, mind you. Because I guess it came to a head and it had been going on for a while. I get to cheerleading practice. And I had to be in my cheerleading shoes, and I was in my my comfortable clothes because I was a back spot and a base, so it depended on where I was needed. I need to be comfortable and ready. And I get a phone call. Boy, oh boy, did it piss me off. I get this phone call, and Jamie's on the phone, and she's almost ready to cry. She's like, she's bullying me. And I'm like, who? She's like, it's a bunch of girls, one of them. In the back of my hot-tempered mind at that time, as a teenager, well known for fighting in the streets, well known for not losing a fight, well known for pulling up, acting a fool, knocking on your door, all of that. I'm like, well, if I know her, what's her name? She wouldn't tell me the name. I'm not going to say the name here because I don't want anybody looking for them. That's disrespectful. I don't know where they're at this point in time in life. It's out of respect and grace. I'm not going to do that to them or myself. But I'm like, what are you talking? I'm like, what's her name? She wouldn't tell me the name. So now that's making me even hotter because I'm like, why you won't tell me the name? She's like, I need you to come down to where I'm at. So I go to where the buses are at. I go to the ferry. I'm like, let me run down there because at this point I'm scared she's getting jumped, like she's entangled and surrounded. I get down there. I don't love cheerleading practice. I had a penalty. I done got yelled at. She didn't call my mama. The coach. I was like, whatever, girl, call her. She don't care. Just as long as she get her money back, for the shell top, she don't care. I run down to the ferry. I'm running too, and I'm an asthmatic. First and foremost, one thing y'all gonna learn, I'm an asthmatic, and as a teenager, I was very Not fat, but I was healthy. Okay, if you know what I'm saying. So big healthy me. Okay, with asthma running down hills. That's not even a good mix. I didn't even have my asthma pump, so I don't even know. God was really good to me, a handful of times, especially that this one particular time where I was running full speed, no jacket, it's cold out, down a hill, two hills really, with no asthma pump. I get down there, I'm like, where is she? I hear commotion. I'm thinking they jump in my system. Quite the opposite. They're preparing to. Now, me being me, she sees me and I do this. So, in our weird sister code, she points the girl out. Let me tell y'all something. It's a girl who I had already had an issue with, had already made it clear, like, please do not make me have to pull up on you. Please don't make me have to encounter you again, because if I have to, I'm telling you, we're fighting. And I'm going to take you from head to toe, drag you through the mud. Listen, you're going to have to, it's going to take Jesus and the gang to get you up off me. There's like 8 girls, too. There's 8 girls and one of her. She points to the girl, I'm like, this one? Oh, that made me hot. Now that made me hot. Now I want to fight. Now I'm like, I gave this heifer a warning. And I gave her grace. And she out here bullying my sister. But I also had this rule, never tell that. I always told my younger siblings, don't tell that you're related to me. It comes in handy in a lot of cases, and this was one of them. I pull over, I go, so I was like, what's going on? I'm playing it. I'm literally playing it where I'm asking one of the girls who are planning to jump my younger sister, I'm like, what's going on? And she don't piece nothing together. She's like, oh yeah, this girl, we don't like her. We finna jump her, this, that, and the third. She's bum, she's whacked this. They got this, it's really something very minuscule. They just didn't like her because she was quiet. So they felt, let me make an example. That didn't sit well with me because I don't like bullying, because I had already been bullied. I don't like that. So now I really want your head on a stick. So I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I was like, y'all all jumping it. It was like, nah, we're going to take turns and then we're going to jump her. I was like, oh, okay, that's crazy. I said, who, she don't got no relatives. She ain't called for no backup. They was like, yeah, she called for somebody. So again, I'm playing it. I'm playing this role very well, and I often do that, especially when I know it's more than one. I have to be strategic. So this other girl, she was like, yeah, because I'm going to F her up. She's going crazy with it. That pissed me off even more, but now I have to stay composed because I don't need them to know who I am to her. I get to homegirl who I had already had this issue with. I'm like, yo, I heard y'all about to mollywop shorty. She's like, yeah, and she talking about her sister coming up here. She never pieced together it was me. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. I said, you know what's even crazier? I gave you fair warning, shorty, not to she looks and it finally starts, but she's like, oh, wait, you're her sister? I said, yeah, now we got problems. Now I'm about to whack everybody. I'm taking all y'all on. So now I look at my sister. I said, get up, drop your bag. Let me tell you what Jamie did. She did just like this. I said, let me tell you something. If I go home, matter because I had to fight 8 of them, and you sat here, I'm going to beat you up in the house. Straight like that. I'm beating you from mommy house to daddy house. I'm going to beat you. You understand? I don't want to fight. I said, all right, bet you don't want to fight. I'm going to fight you, then I'm going to beat them up, then I'm going to beat you up again. Drop your bags. She drops her bags. I'm looking at my sister and she's scared. And I'm like, ain't no reason to be scared. You done called the demon out, girl. You done called me out the cage, honey. We got to fight. We got to tussle. The girl looks at me. She was like, oh, you really going to fight for your sister? Before she could square up, I had already started swinging. I ain't giving no room. I'm swinging at her. I'm swinging at the homegirls. My sister is standing there like just pushing the whatever target looked fitting at the time. So that made me even madder. Now it's like, now I'm going to beat you from mommy house to daddy house. Like, I'm just going to beat you up. And we're going to stop at grandma's house. And you're going to explain to grandma why you got beat up. And why my hands hurt. And why I had to leave practice. Let me just tell y'all. Yes, I was out there swinging like a maniac. Yes, I was taking people's heads clean off. Yes, I did end up beating the crap out of my sister. Again. And I'm saying this because that was not the first time she had called me for a situation, but this particular situation irritated me so much because I don't like bullying. I don't like people getting jumped because I've already been in those scenarios. I'd already been there, done that, literally. Not once, but maybe twice. And I wasn't letting it get to a third time with a loved one. So all the while that I'm out here like throwing one hitter quitters, haymakers, whatever, I'm taking heads. Because at this point, I'm like, you're a threat to me. You are now a threat to me, and I have to eliminate you. And because I had such a really, really hot temper, this is also what landed me a trip to anger management. I'm not even going to hold y'all. It landed me a trip to anger management because that girl went back and told, and word got out, and then I had, meetings with teachers. They was like, hey, you're going to anger management. Ended up in anger management. It was really, really ridiculous. I don't understand why I had to do anger management when I was technically defending this effort, but I mean, I get it too. It makes sense. So the girl didn't even go to my school. Some of the girls did go, but this girl who particularly was getting ready to jump my sister did not go to my school. She went to her school, her and my sister's school, which was down the block from mine. And I was not having it. I was taking heads. So by that time, after everything was said and done, I'm even more enraged. I'm fuming, and I'm like, I started flipping. Because she didn't really do nothing. She just was tossing the opponents at me. I looked at her with such madness. That's what I'm going to safely call it. Madness. And I was like, you called me out of practice to come fight your battles, and you ain't fight nothing? I'm going to kill you. She's like, no. Just tell daddy. I said, daddy's going to have to get me up off you. God rest my dad's soul, because he really did have to get me up off her when we got back to the house. Because I was on her neck. I tried to strangle her. Like, I wasn't having it. But then he yelled at her. We'll get to that part. So, we're fighting. Now, I'm like, get on the bus. You done pissed me off. Get on the bus. Mind y'all, I don't have none of my stuff. Somebody I think a friend of mine's ended up bringing my stuff to my house. I only had my cell phone. That's literally all I had. I only had my cell phone. And if y'all go right back to like 2004, we had like the Boost, where you at phones kind of thing. That's where I was at. And mine had a little reflective mirror in the back where the battery was. I was feeling a little, just feeling myself for that. But back then we had, I'm telling my age, I don't care. We had the Boost, where you at, mobile phones, where it was a walkie-talkie and it was a phone kind of thing. And I had my little, thing going. And we get on the bus. I'm beating her from literally the ferry to my dad's house. We get to my dad's house. I threw her I threw her one-handedly because I was so enraged. I threw her through the front door. My dad is calm as ever, sitting on the couch. He just does this. So I guess he correlated and just knew. He looks very calmly with his cup of coffee, because my dad was an avid coffee drinker. He looks with his cup of coffee, watching his shows. And I'm like, tell him what you did. I'm fuming. I'm flipping. I'm like, tell daddy what you had me in. Y'all, she gets up. She's like, Dad. Just like that, I promise y'all. Then she beat me up. He said, who beat you up? He said, who beat you up? She beat me up. So my dad's thinking that I let them girls jump. He said, you let her get jumped? I said, no, I beat her up. I said, and let me explain why. And then you're going to have to get me up off her again. I said, she called me out of practice. They didn't even touch her. I went in there, I assessed, and then I started swinging. And he goes, what do you mean you assessed? I said, I played my role, Daddy. I went, I talked to some of them. I wanted to figure out what was going on. So I assessed the situation before I reacted and started swinging. And he goes, okay, so what happened? I said, you're sucker of a daughter. That's not what I said. I'm going to be honest. I had a whole long list of cuss words that even my dad, he was like, what is going on? I had the longest list of cuss words. That's how mad I was. And I never really cursed in front of my parents like that or swore. But I was so enraged. It was one thing if I was outside with my friends doing it. It was another thing if I was in the house doing it. I'm fuming. I said, your sucker of a child sat there and just pushed the opponent. She didn't even defend herself. She had me out here fighting 8 chicks. My dad, who had the calmest, most beautiful spirit, I miss that man so much. He goes, is this true? She goes, what was I supposed to do? My dad looks at me calmly through his glasses. He goes, now, Rain, I know you're mad, but you also know your sister a little slow as ever. You know she's scurry too. I said, let me explain something, Dad. I ain't scared. I used to be scared, but I ain't scared no more. And y'all, she called me out of practice. I ain't got no jacket, no asthma pump, nothing to plead the fifth. I'm out here. It's cold. It's 30 degrees out. And a white tee and some sweatpants with some shorts under here and some cheerleading shoes. He's like, you didn't put on the Timbs? Now, I'm just going to say this. Whenever I got into fights, and there are people who could actually vouch for this, I would always have on Timbs because my thing was and I'm not. This is not a flex. I love my legs, but my legs are extremely, extremely strong. But I also realized with the right kind of training, because I'm trained in boxing, I'm trained in karate, some jiu-jitsu, a little jiu-jitsu, but I took up kickboxing as a form of exercise because of my weight issue. When I tell y'all, I had a thing about my legs, and I knew they were strong, but one day I got into a fight in middle school, and I had stomped on someone, and they will still to this day, whenever we touch that topic, because, you know, the person and I are still cool, she will say, all I saw was the big calves and the Timbs, and I knew I was in danger. That always, it's not that it always stuck with me, but I always knew that my legs held a certain amount of power behind it. So my theory was, I'm not going to kick you. I'm going to stomp you out with some Timbs. My new bucks, Timberland boots, they were, God bless them because they were faithful, but I was stomping you all the way out with some Timbs. You're going to see these Timbs, and you going home with a Timberland boot print on you. Clean as day. A lot of people can actually attest to that one. Not my finest moment. I own it, though. And I apologize for those who did get hit with the boot, including my co-parent, because one day he pissed me off and I threw the boot at him, and it was fouled behind my foot. This is why I'm in therapy and I'm growing, y'all. I promise. I'm reformed. I'm saved. I promise. I'm saved, but I'm still ratchet. Let's not forget. Okay. But he was like, you ain't have your Timbs on? I said, you don't see me in no damn Timbs. He looks down and sees I'm in my cheerleading shoes. So he knew I wasn't lying. And he looks at Jamie and he goes, I know you ain't call her and you ain't even attempt to defend yourself. She's sitting in the kitchen chair. Dad, wait. My dad looks, he goes, commence. He said commence because that's crazy. He says commence as in continue to wail on her. So at that point, I was wailing, but I was wailing so much. Then he got nervous because he thought about what happened to us as kids and how she ended up getting them stitches on her forehead. And he was like, all right. Now, my dad was a very big dude, but I will always say whenever he would touch or grab or I could hear him, I would stop. I didn't hear him this one particular time. He had to gracefully pick me up, like pick me up as if he were, like when wrestlers, or I'm gonna just stick with wrestling, when they pick their opponent up like that and drop them. He had to physically pick me up like that and pin me to the wall, because he he knew what I was capable of, and he didn't want me to get that far. But if I'm 1000% transparent, which I am going to be, I was choking Jamie out. Like, she was turning purple, because I was like, "You got me out here fighting!" I was fuming, and I'm choking her out, literally. He's like, all right, hey, she still gotta breathe. Like, you don't want to go to juvie. I was like, at this rate, I might just take it, because if she called me again, I'm gonna kill her. Let me just say, she called me about 9 or 10 times after that. But this particular lesson, she had to learn, if you're gonna be in these situations, you gotta scrap. So when my dad had me, he was like, "Jamie, get up and stop." It's not funny. He's like, "Get up and woman up and stop being on the floor and stop acting like you a punk. You ain't no punk." He said, "Remember, you used to be ready to fight her battles. Now she over here fighting your battles, and she damn near killed you behind it." And she's like, she's just crying. The ugly cry at that. Just, and I was like, if you call me again, and it wasn't a threat, it was a man-made promise that I had, and still to this day, I still stand by that. So if you call me ever again, and you tell me there's a team of broads outside trying to jump you, and you don't partially defend yourself, there will not be a soul, not even the Holy Spirit, that can get me up off you. Do you understand? You understand what I'm trying to tell you, child? And I turned into Medea, I'm not gonna lie to you. And she was like, all right, I get it. Still crying. In my head, I was like, if you call me and you don't freaking fight a smidge to defend yourself before calling me, I'm going to take your head clean off your shoulders, and I'm gonna kick your head off your shoulders. I'm going to roundhouse drop kick you. That's how mad I was. Like, and she was just like, I don't want your foot in my face. You got big legs. That was the only rebuttal she had. And my dad, being my dad, he kind of laughed. I'm just gonna say my dad was very unserious. My grandmother and my dad were the most unserious humans in certain situations known to man. So there have been series of that, even in my adult life, where I'm being called to be the muscle, but the lesson learned out of that was parameters and boundaries, y'all. Assess before reacting and acting, because I was so hot-tempered during those years that my thought process was really truly something almost militant to a degree, but also very chaotic. So it was like, you go in, play stupid, assess the situation, but once you lock in on who you need to lock in on, take their heads off. That's no way that I should be living. That's no way that anybody should live unless your life is in danger. And I'm saying this because unless your life is in danger, that's the only reason you need to act that way. But if it's just a regular fight, please don't pull me. Don't do that, children. But for Jamie, that was a lifelong lesson. She does not do that anymore unless she has to. And she knows if she has to, I'm going to jail. Somebody got to raise these kids. Even my co-parent is like that, because he's like, I ain't calling her unless we got her. So I say all of this to say that part of me may be dormant, right? But she'd come out of retirement real quick, especially behind my kids. And today, with my daughter, I was like, as I was on the phone with my co-parent, I'm like, I don't want any of them to go through what I went through. I don't ever want them being the muscle of situations that don't really have anything to do with them. I can't tell y'all how many times I was the muscle of situations that had nothing to do with me. And it would be just like my sibling or a friend putting themselves in those situations and then calling me because they knew I'm pulling up because I'm loyal. I'm that friend. I'm that person. I'm loyal and I love hard, but I also know that it gets taken advantage of. And I love my kids and I would never want them to go through what I went through with that. But I also have to recognize in that space when I was younger, I didn't know how rare that trait of me was. So I value it so much more now because I am the person who shows up. I don't mind being the safe space, but I've also learned, especially after these last few days, that even with me being the safe space, I have to be my own safe space because there's no safe space for me and in that capacity or sense. And with my daughter, I know she's mad, and that's okay. She's allowed to be mad. But I had to, my co parent and I was sitting with her and telling her, like, yo, you could be mad, but you also have to look at it from a different angle. The way that he and I grew up are vastly different from the way that they're growing up now. There's social media, everything gets posted. Whereas in 2003, 4, or 5, if you had a fight, you had a fight. You went about it, but it wasn't getting posted. Ain't nobody was posting it. It was like, all right, the school gonna hear about it because somebody gonna run their mouth to be like, yo, did you hear what happened? So and so, and they could twist the story or whatever. But looking back, my temper played such a big part of that. People loved seeing me off my calmness. Like they loved seeing me riled up and ready to fight. And that was a problem. But they also used that to the fact that I was the person who would show up, pull up, show out, and then go about my business. And I say this because not just in those aspects, but even like with my mom, when I had this conversation a couple of days ago with her, I said, I know that I'm the person that people call for a good time because I have a certain energy. I have a rareness about me that I'm very aware of, that I had to sit with, and I had to cry about it with God, and I took those, and I'm glad that I did it. But it also makes me love the fact that now I'm in my soft space, that I'm not willing to compromise it. And I don't want my son to compromise that either. So even with they're learning that still. My oldest is Aria. She went through it real bad, and it costed her a lot. But it also put me in a position where I was like, I need you to stop and assess, because her and I have very similar temperaments, if I'm honest. And if she reacts, we're taking the trip. We're going to jail. Because one thing, Azaria, her and I have that same, what'd you say? Cool. All right, heard you. Now when I get up, I'm going to be up. I'm going to be over there. I'm going to be on that neck. Whereas Joshua Joshua has a lot of my mom and my dad in him. And it's a perfect balance until it's not. And Joshua's I like to call him the calm crash out. Because even a few weeks ago, right before his birthday, y'all, this boy got into a fight. He came home, had a bruise on his face. I was like, do I gotta pull up? He's like, no, Mom, I got it. But even prior to that, Joshua had been in a situation where he was fighting on behalf of a friend. He was the muscle for the friend, and he broke his hand. And that pissed me off, something crazy. He broke his hand. He couldn't play ball for a few weeks. We had to keep going back and forth to the doctors. His knuckles were so badly broken and out of place that they had to re-break his hand to put them back in place. That, and I'm gonna tell y'all, that did something to me. That I sat through that. I watched. It really truly did something to me. I actually have footage of it. I don't think I'm gonna share that, but if he chooses to let me, that's different. But his hand was actually, even now, if he makes a fist, you really can't see these 3 knuckles. So he doesn't have any like permanent damage or anything, but I had to sit with him like I had to sit with his area. Now I'm doing it with D'Angelo, where I'm like, It is not your job to radiate that type of energy and execute that kind of action. Know when to and know how to. But I also wanted them to understand not everybody who is your friend is really truly your friend. And sometimes even that goes with relatives, because I've had relatives do that to me too, where I was putting my freedom on the line, my livelihood, my freedom, to the point where it was like, if I would have got arrested, you would not be looking out for these kids. And that's something that I stand by. And with my boundaries, I've had my boundaries so tight now that it has to really be something big for me to want to be like, all right, I'll come out of retirement. I'll be crash out queen again, just for this one time. But even now, that's not enough for me. So even today with Angeli, and I know she's mad, but she'll be home and she's gonna get over it. When I was on the phone with her and her dad was at the school, I was like, you're leaving out parts. You're being too reactive. I'm not saying you have, and she's done a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. She has done a tremendous amount of work from 6th grade to now, because she's getting ready to graduate and go into high school. But I had to be honest with her. I said, in high school, it is not the same thing. You get in a fight, you getting suspended, or they jumping you. They're gonna retaliate. It's not the same as how how me and her father grew up, or even how my mom grew up. It's not the same. People get killed for less, and I cannot bear the thought of my children being long-lived or sleep in peace. It's driving me crazy, because they've lost friends behind things like that. They've lost friends for way worse, and some of them are arrested. Some of them are unfortunately passed. Some of them wrong place, wrong time. You know what I mean? The way that my children are growing up, I'm very cautious. So I'm always telling them, keep your head in the Bible, pray before you do things, assess before you do things. And this was one of those situations. I understood what Angela was trying to get across. She was like, that's my friend. I said, I understand that, but not everybody who is your friend has to get that version of you. Not everybody needs your reaction. Every stand doesn't need to be taken, and not every point needs to be pointed out and taken across in those type of manners. So right now we're in that weird space of teenage years where she's feeling like she's misunderstood, when indeed I understand her 100%, but I don't want her repeating my mistakes. And for those who understand what it's like to be the loyal, the show up, the go-to, I know you guys can relate, because my children are very much, I love them to death, and they're some of the most outstanding humans I've ever been blessed with to raise, guide, and see the growth in. But I also know what that comes with, and it does break my heart a little that it seems generational, but I pray that it's not. I pray that it ends here. But she's struggling with that, and I'm struggling with it from the parental aspect, because my mom struggled somewhat, but not really until I was an adult, and she was seeing the patterns, like, why are we calling you all the time to handle certain things? I'm like, I don't know. I understand that I pull up, I show up, and I show out, but I'm still a human. I still have responsibilities. I still have boundaries. And the fact that this is what I'm being used for is not okay with me. And I know for those who understand, like, it's hard, you're the safe space, you're the go-to, you are the muscle, you are the loyal person, you are the strong one. Sometimes we have to say no. Sometimes we have to stand down. Sometimes we have to just walk away. And even now in the season that I'm in, embracing my softness that I seemed to abandon so long ago, and I'm coming back into it. I'm really, really comfortable in it. I love it, actually. That aggressive half of me, that soldier, that survival mode half of me is dormant right now, but I know it'll take something for her to come out. But I also don't want my kids to be in that space neither, because it also does have some trauma effects that follow behind that. So those of you guys who have been the loyal, the go-to, the strong one, share your stories in comments. But the takeaways that I want you guys to take from this is it's okay to say no. It's okay to not react. It's okay to walk away. It is okay to choose solely just you, because nobody else is. If everybody's choosing you for the wrong reasons, you need to choose you for the right reasons. And for me, God was very heavy on me about that recently with a lot of things, and I'm very grateful. But I'm also seeing how that's playing out with my kids, and I'm always going to tell them, be smart enough to choose you when you know it's hazardous and dangerous. So right now, they're learning. So it's weird for them. They, well, Angela right now feels very misunderstood, and that's not really. I don't think until she'll look back and understand she wasn't misunderstood, but we were indeed trying to protect her. But for us adult ones who are still going through it, it's okay to say no. Choose you. Because if they're choosing you for the wrong reasons, choose you for the right ones. Not everybody needs that version of you. Not everybody deserves that. And that version of you neither, on either end. Just say no. Make boundaries, please. Boundaries are important because the way that the world is working now is really dangerous. And my first thing is I'm always prayed up. So stay prayed up. Be in your Bible if you have to. Bible app, Bible, watch a couple of sermons, something. But don't neglect that you're still human and that you need to choose you. Because it's important. If God is choosing you for certain things, that's different. But don't crash out over people who wouldn't choose you on a regular sunny day just to make sure you're good. And I say that because God put me in a space recently where I had to pull back from people, and I'm seeing who's whom to me and where to place them. And it doesn't mean that I don't love them any less. It just means I know better than to give you what you're looking for, and I know better than to cross my boundaries to make you comfortable because you lack the boundaries that I've already placed up. It's life. Eventually, they'll understand. But I pray that you guys have an amazing week, an amazing weekend. I pray that you guys choose you. I pray that y'all don't have to always soldier up for everybody and allow some of your softness out. And I pray that God still is keeping his hand of grace over y'all, because a lot of days I know we need it. So, before I sign off, y'all know what I'm about to say. Like, comment, share, subscribe. The handles on IG are I am RayneMartine, a legendary mess. TikTok, RayneMartine. Facebook, RayneM. Spotify and YouTube, a legendary mess. Give yourselves grace because God gave us grace, and give others grace because we're good humans and we don't know their situation. Sometimes they might need grace. That's just facts. I love you, but God loves you more, cousins. And I'll be back next week. Yeah, I'll be back next week. I love you guys. Please stay safe. Stay prayed up too. For real. Talk to Jesus. Talk to God. They got y'all. And this is a legendary mess.